Today we are going to discuss nuclear fission reaction and nuclear reactors. So nuclear interactions are of two kinds: radioactivity and another is nuclear fission reaction or nuclear fusion reaction. Radioactivity is due to weak nuclear interactions, weak forces, and fission and fusion are due to strong forces. Now, this nuclear fission reaction and fusion reaction can be understood on the basis of binding energy per nucleon. They can be explained using binding energy. So let us first of all just know what is binding energy. We have various nucleons like neutrons and protons with their masses, these different masses, and when they combine to form one nucleus, then you find that the mass of the combination of these nucleons, that is nucleus, that you have measured with the help of a mass spectroscope, is less than the masses of individual nucleons. The mass of your daughter nucleus, which is formed by all these masses of nucleons, is less. And the difference of the masses is called mass defect. So, from Einstein's special theory of relativity, you could know that this energy, that is this defect of mass, is released from there in the form of energy. And this energy can be given by this equation. Energy is equal to del mc square, where del m is mass defect. When the nucleons are combined to form one single nucleus, some mass is reduced and that mass appears as equivalent energy. So this is from Einstein's special theory of relativity. And this energy is called binding energy. When this much amount of mass is reduced, mass defect is there, then they will appear as one form of energy called binding energy. So when binding energy is released, then the nucleons are bound in one nucleus. Now, when this nucleus is again fragmented, then this much amount of energy is needed to make it in fragments. Now, another term that is very important, that is called binding energy per nucleon. So here we have a binding energy per nucleon versus mass number of different element curve. This is a very important relation. So you can see that in this curve, binding energy per nucleon for uranium is near about more than 7. That is 7.6. Let us take binding energy for uranium 240. Binding energy is equal to 7.6, and this is in mega electron volt, you can see. So this much mega electron volt. Now let us find binding energy per nucleon for a intermediate nucleus like half of uranium, a nucleus with mass number half of uranium 240, and half of it can be either antimony or tin. So let us take example of any of them. Okay, I am taking any unknown element with having mass number 120, and the binding energy per nucleon of it can be obtained from this graph. So for mass number, you have nearly 120, and let me find the binding energy per nucleon. This is here somewhere, and this is less than 9. 8 and 10, in between that there is 9, and this is your 8.5. So from this standard graph that is obtained by experiments, we could find the binding energy of a intermediate fragment nucleus. Binding energy per nucleon has come 8.5 mega electron volt. So what is difference of binding energy per nucleon of the two nucleus? Now the difference of binding energy per nucleon of the two elements is equal to one has binding energy 8.5 mega electron volt and another has 7.6 mega electron volt. So this difference comes equal to 0.9 mega electron volt. So when uranium is fragmented, is broken, is changed into its parts, to its masses with binding energy 8.5 mega electron volt and with masses 120 each. When you break uranium, this breaking is called fission. So when uranium is broken into two intermediate masses, then what is the increase in? Better I should write here now the increase in increase of binding energy per nucleon is equal to 0.9 mega electron volt, and therefore increase in binding energy of uranium nucleus is equal to, this is your binding energy per nucleon for one nucleon, either proton or neutron. So binding energy for whole nucleons, that is 240. Total number of nucleons are 240 into binding energy for one nucleon is 0.9, and this much mega electron volt is the binding energy, increase in binding energy, and this is your 216 mega electron volt. So this much is the increase in binding energy for one uranium atom when it is fragmented into two its daughter nucleus. And when binding energy is increased, then it is more strongly bound, and when the daughter nuclei are more strongly bound, the energy will be released, and with amount 200 or 216 mega electron volt or equivalent to this amount. So what is fission? Now we can understand. When a heavy nucleus is bombarded with a slow moving neutron, because fission can be conducted by slow moving neutron, it is broken into fragments by releasing huge amount of energy, and this broken down of a heavy nucleus into fragments by release of energy is called fission reaction. Now Rutherford and Soddy law how fission is conducted, how any nuclear interaction is conducted. It is such that the initial mass and initial charge and it is same before and after the nuclear interactions. Mass number is conserved and charge is conserved in any nuclear interactions. This is Rutherford and Soddy law. So let us take some examples of nuclear fission reaction. Here you have a fissionable uranium atom. All the uranium atoms are not fissionable. This is your a fissionable uranium. So when it is bombarded with slow moving neutron with charge 0 and mass 1, this is your slow moving neutron, then it can be fragmented into many ways. So firstly it will consume this neutron and it will change into excited uranium 236. This is your excited uranium with mass number changed to 36. Now this excited uranium can be fragmented into so many ways. Like one way is barium with atomic number 56, mass number 144, and krypton with atomic number 36 and mass number 89. So now let us count the total atomic number of the two fragments. This is your 96. This is your 92. 56 plus 36. This is your 92. So mass number is your atomic number is conserved. And now let us find the mass number. This is your, when you add the two mass numbers, this is your 233. So mass is less than 236. So we will add 3 neutrons along with these daughter atoms, nuclei. You have release of 3 neutrons also, and along with this release of huge amount of energy is there because these are intermediate mass elements, these are intermediate mass nuclei, and they have binding energy per nucleon larger than the binding energy of uranium itself. So energy will be released. Here you have seen that Rutherford-Soddy law of conservation of mass number and charge is obeyed. Similarly, it can be fragmented into antimony Sb with atomic number 51 and mass number 133, and niobium with atomic number 41 and mass number 99. So now let us again check the law of conservation of mass number and charge of Soddy and Rutherford. So you will find that mass number, here you have mass number 99 and 133, is your 232. Mass number is 232. And initially they have mass number 236. So here 4 neutrons are released to make the mass number conserved. 4 neutrons. And along with this, you have huge amount of energy released, and this is due to only the binding energy of the nucleus of antimony and niobium is more than the binding energy of its parent nuclei. They are intermediate masses and they have binding energy in the range 8 mega electron volt per nucleon or even above. Now, there can be another way, so many ways by which this nuclear fission can take place. They can break into, uranium nucleus can break into Jn. So this will be your Jn has 140 atomic mass and its atomic number 54, and strontium with atomic number 38 and mass number 94. So again, when you try to conserve the atomic number and atomic masses, here you have sum of atomic numbers equal to 92. Atomic number is conserved, means charges are conserved. Now mass number 140 plus 94, so this is 234. Okay. So from uranium 236, now mass has changed into 234. So there should be a release of 2 neutrons with 0 charge and mass number 1. And in this process, huge amount of energy is released. So this is how any heavy element can be fragmented into different ways such that they are obeying the mass and charge conservation law of Rutherford and Soddy. Now these daughter nuclei are highly excited. All these daughter nuclei which are formed, these are highly excited and they will emit beta radiations in succession. They will emit beta radiations many a time and they finally attain a stable position and they will convert into a stable end product. Now this stable end product cannot emit any radiations any further. There will not be any radioactive emissions and that last end product is lead. PV becomes stable. It do not emit any radioactive radiations. Now you will see that in each fission reaction you have release of 2 to 3 on an average 2 to 3 neutrons. Now these neutrons can further interact with another uranium nucleus or any heavy element and they can conduct further fission. So a chain of fission reaction starts. This is called nuclear chain reaction. This is called nuclear chain reaction. Now in each fission reaction, the release of energy is of the order of 200 mega electron volt. So let us find. Okay, 200 mega electron. You can see we have already find. This is your 216 mega electron volt. A nuclear reactor. Here you have a schematic diagram of a nuclear reactor. It consists of a core. It has a core, then it has a reflector. This construction is called reflector. and then it is confined in a concrete enclosure, in a safety enclosure. Then it has a heat exchanger or working substance, and it has coolant. Then it has moderator, and another term is control rod. So all these components are there with a nuclear reactor. This is the part which is called core. This is the site where we put the manufactured fuel, that is developed fuel. In core, we place manufactured fuel. So we will start with moderator. What is moderator? Fission reaction cannot be conducted with fast moving neutrons. So in one fission reaction, you have fast moving neutron with its energy two mega electron volt. So they will not interact with any uranium. Further interaction is not possible. So they are needed to made slow, and this is done by moderator. Moderator are either, let me give you example of moderators: water, heavy water, that is also called deuterium, D2O, and then you have they slow down these fast moving neutrons by elastic scattering. Elastic scattering is a process in which when this fast moving neutron is collided with light particle like light neutrons or hydrogen particle, then they slow down, just like when two marbles of equal size, when one of the marble collide with another one, so it slows down and other marble starts moving. So this is due to elastic scattering process that fast moving neutron is made slow with energy of the order of 0.4 electron volt. This is slow neutron. Now they can combine with any uranium nuclei, and they can further conduct nuclear reactions. So with the inclusion of this moderator, now you have so many fission reactions. So you need to learn another term that is called multiplication factor. Number of fission reactions after including your moderator increases when you include moderator, number of fission reaction increased, and the ratio of fission reaction due to the present generation of neutrons to the fission reactions due to preceding generation of neutrons is made equal to 1. And when it is made, this fission reactions due to present generation of nucleon to preceding generation of neutron is made equal to 1, then the operation is called critical operation. This operation is called critical, and this is what we try to find for continuous exploitation of energy, because in this way we can continuously exploit energy without any explosion or without any discontinuity. Now when this ratio is made greater than 1, then such multiplication factor is called supercritical. Operation is called supercritical when this k is made greater than 1. Operation becomes supercritical, and this is very dangerous situation. Now when operation becomes supercritical, then your nuclear reactor may even explode, and this is what happened in Chernobyl in Ukraine. It exploded due to its operation becomes supercritical, and this was very devastating. This was very dangerous because due to explosion it emitted radioactive radiations in large magnitude, and it affected the people over there. Now we learned 2 topics. First is moderator, second is your multiplication factor, now control rod. So to avoid this supercritical operation, we have control rods. If this multiplication factor tries to increase then 1, then we have control rods, that is called cadmium rods. These absorbs neutrons. And thus they reduce this your multiplication factor and put near to 1. So this is how nuclear operations are made critical, and it is avoided to become supercritical. Along with control rods, we have safety rods also. We have now in a nuclear reactor, energy is released in the form of kinetic energy of the daughter nuclei. The daughter nuclei which are formed are in super speeds. So energy here is kinetic energy. Now when they collide, their kinetic energy is seized and the energy is transformed into heat energy. So this heat energy is exploited by the use of coolant. Coolant are either water or heavy water that is used near the chamber where heat is produced, and the heat is absorbed by water or heavy water, and this heat is further transferred. This water and or heavy water, they do circulation due to convection current, and the heat is transferred to working liquid. Now working liquid absorbs heat, and they after absorbing evaporates and due to evaporation they turn turbine and they generate electricity. This is how nuclear energy, which comes as kinetic energy, is converted into heat energy, and this is further converted into electrical energy. Now, one most important concern, last but not the least, is waste recycle and disposal. These nuclear reactors have nuclear fuel waste, which are very dangerous. They emit radioactive radiations that may cause cancer and that may cause physical inability in generations, not in one person. It can damage many generations even. So there is need of extensive care for waste disposal or waste recycling. And one of the most important aspect of this nuclear waste disposal is to recycle the nuclear waste. So you have one non-fissionable material, uranium-238, that is present in abundant in India also. It does not fission. But when it is converted into neptunium and then plutonium, this plutonium is fissionable. How can you convert? By recycling uranium-238. So let us see. Uranium-238 92, when is bombarded with a neutron, then it is changed into neptunium. When a non-fissionable uranium-238 is interacted with a slow-moving neutron, then it captures slow-moving neutron and is converted into neptunium. With its atomic number is increased by 1. From 92 it becomes 93. And thus its mass number is also increased, because mass of uranium-238 plus mass of neutron, this is your 239. Here mass is conserved and we need to conserve the charges also, and therefore why one electron emits out with the emission of antineutrino. Notice that when an electron emits in any reaction, it is associated with, accompanied by antineutrino. Now this neptunium is not stable and it is radioactive, so it further decays and it changes into plutonium by emitting one electron. So here you can see mass is conserved, 238 this side, and after this interaction 239 this side, and after interaction 239. And to conserve the charge, which is 93 before, and here it has become 94. So one electron will balance this charge on the both sides. One electron will be emitted and it will be accompanied by antineutrino.